Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. Well, the votes are in, and I want to take a moment to thank everyone who made an effort to vote in the polls that I started last week regarding how likely Prince Harry and Meghan Markle can improve their negative public images. But before we get into the results, I'd like to ask everyone to please like this video, please press the red subscribe button to support this channel, and please press the bell to receive notifications. Thanks! I posted the poll here on YouTube under the community chat, which is accessible to subscribers of the channel, as well as a similar one over on the social media platform now known as X. If you haven't yet voted, but would like to anyway, you still can here on YouTube. So I will link the poll in the description below. I was very happy with the amount of participation in both polls. I posted the polls as part of a video that I had released last week, talking specifically about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, aka Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, regarding the very real possibility of them being frozen out of Hollywood. And the reason cited for that possibility had to do with an article that was published by The Hollywood Reporter back in December of last year that had declared the royal couple of being losers for 2023. I had also released a separate video about that article at the time. So to avoid the possibility of being completely frozen out of Hollywood's inner social circles, Harry and Meghan need to totally transform their negative public images into ones that are positive. And that's what the poll is about, but at this stage, I'm not convinced that they can. And that's in large part due to how they have done nothing but complain about how miserable their privileged lives have been while living in their $14.5 million Montecito, California mansion, while simultaneously attempting to cash in on what I strongly believe are exaggerations of issues that occurred within the royal family itself, which led to their decision to quit being working royals in January of 2020. And in the 4 years since, it is primarily due to their various non-stop public accusations and complaints about specific members of the royal family that has consequently led to them being totally ostracized from it. Though I have wondered whether Prince Harry ever actually considered the ramifications of his actions before making all of his public statements against his own family. Currently, I'm inclined to believe that he never did. And as of the time that I am recording this video, Harry is 39 years old, which means that he will be turning 40 in September. In other words, he's going to be middle-aged this year. But rather than look for something useful to do with his life, he's been nothing more than a whiner about his life and as being a member of the royal family. But I wanted to know how you, the viewers, felt about the royal couple. And between the polls on YouTube and the similar one on X, a total of 60 votes have been cast as of the time that I am recording this video. 42 votes were cast on YouTube and 18 on X. The poll question was, how likely do you think that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will be able to turn around their negative public image in 2024? And the four possible responses were very unlikely, somewhat unlikely, somewhat likely, or very likely. So of the 42 votes that were cast on YouTube, 36 voted for very unlikely, which was 85.7% of the vote, making that the overwhelming majority viewpoint. 4 voted for somewhat unlikely, which was 9.5% of the vote. 2 voted for somewhat likely, which was 4.7% of the vote, but no one voted for very likely. The poll results on X were similar to the results on YouTube, but there was a subtle difference. So of the 18 votes that were cast on X, 14 voted for very unlikely, which was 77.8% of the vote, while nobody voted for somewhat unlikely. But there was one vote for somewhat likely, or 5.6% of the vote, and there were 3 votes for very likely, which was 16.75% of the vote. So the voters on X were slightly more optimistic about Harry and Meghan possibly being able to improve their negative public image than on YouTube, but a very large majority on both platforms are convinced that they won't be able to. And that's my own personal point of view on that subject as well. So when I combine the results from both polls, of the 60 votes that were cast, 50 had voted for very unlikely, which was 83.3% of the vote. 4 voted for somewhat unlikely, which was 6.7% of the vote. 3 voted for somewhat likely, which was 5% of the vote. And finally, 3 also voted for very likely, which was also 5% of the vote. So if I combine the votes cast for very unlikely with somewhat unlikely, as well as combine the votes for somewhat likely and very likely, then 90% of the people who voted in both polls don't believe that Harry and Meghan will be able to improve their public image in 2024, while only 10% believe that they can. And that's a 9-to-1 margin. Personally, I believe that these are very reasonable poll results due to the immense hurdles that the royal couple will have to contend with if they attempt to improve their currently negative public image. First and foremost, most people don't actually want to hear anything more about Harry and Meghan because of their own actions over the past 4 years since they quit being working royals. And that, in of itself, is an enormous obstacle. So they could try laying low for a while, but that wouldn't necessarily improve their status inside of Hollywood, though that may be Meghan Markle's only option given how much more unpopular she is as compared with Prince Harry. For Harry, he could try focusing more on charity work, but that may prove difficult because the charities that he had supported as a working member of the royal family are within the UK. So if he focuses primarily on those charities, that won't necessarily garner him much positive press in the US. But it could potentially begin to start turning his negative public image around within the UK. He could try working for a few US charities, but I honestly don't know how many would be interested in that given his current negative public image. And as I said earlier in the video, these are some of the ramifications that I don't think Harry or Meghan considered when they decided to quit the royal family and then start publicly lambasting them at every opportunity. Thus, Harry and Meghan are definitely caught between a rock and a hard place, but it's of their own making. And that's coupled with the very high likelihood that the royal family would never consider allowing them to become working royals again because of how much they have both publicly attacked the family. But if they begin now to try to repair their negative public images, maybe in a few years they won't be as despised as they currently are. And Harry is the key to that, given that his public image isn't as tarnished as Meghan's, but only time will tell. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.